The Mexican referee, Ray Solis, just giving the rundown to champion and challenger there. I doubt very much whether they have time to listen to anything at that stage. It's usually if you go down, take the mandatory 8 count, watch the punches, no fouls, back of the neck, below the belt, etc. So then it's into the 5th defense of the WBC championship by Larry Holmes against Lorenzo Zanon, who was the European champion and got the strength of this challenge from being European champion. Then he had to give it up, which meant giving up a crack for John H. Gardner against him. But he thought if Gardner happened to defeat him, well, he wouldn't get the chance for the World Championship, and took this instead, and the money that went with it. So Lorenzo Zanon, the first Italian to challenge for the heavyweight title since Primo Carnera in the mid-30s. But the unbeaten Larry Holmes, obviously heavily favored in Las Vegas, but I'm afraid the betting odds are even too big for these local punters. This is all part of the great build-up of Larry Holmes to fight for the undisputed championship. That means bringing in the WBA version against John Tate. Zanon, been a pro 6.5 years, knows a bit about the business, but doesn't punch too hard. He's only stopped 8 opponents, and he's been stopped himself 3 times. That's in 35 fights, of which he's won 29 and drawn 2. So Holmes 15-3, a little heavier than I've seen him, and Lorenzo Zanon is 15-5. They're really big-time heavyweights, aren't they? They're thinking of creating a dreadnought division now. They're getting so big. This left-hand jab of Holmes, it really is a throwback to the days of Joe Louis, who used that left hand to destroy the opposition before he unloaded with those combinations of punches. And of course he looks a bit like Ali, doesn't he, Holmes, when he does this? Well, he boxed hundreds of rounds with Ali on the way up. That's how he learned the business, and he also boxed a lot with Joe Frazier. Holmes becoming very popular now in America, and originally from the deep south, now comes from the town of Easton in Pennsylvania. But at least Zanon trying to match him. Left hand there. Right hand's a little sloppy by Zanon, doesn't seem to carry much power. Zanon's had 2 fights in this Las Vegas ring. He lost to Jerry Quarry and Ken Norton. So trainer there from Holmes is Richie Giacchetti, who had a bit of problem with him because he'd lost his boxing boots, had them repaired, and they had to break into the store to recover them. Holmes said he didn't want to break in a new pair of shoes. So that's the whistle to get the seconds out of the ring. And they're coming out a little early for work for round 2. And Holmes, having won a vacant championship, outpointed Ken Norton, Ozzy Acazo, Mike Weaver, Alfredo Evangelista, Ernie Shavers. You've seen all of those on World of Sport. And you feel now that Holmes is sort of boxing himself into top shape as he goes along. He's warming himself up. Somebody trotted out the old line about keeping the Holmes fires burning, which is why they brought Zanon in. Very relaxed now. Taking a few liberties, really, the way he's pushing his face in front of Zanon. Obviously doesn't think the Italian's going to hurt him. But he keeps stealing a punch or two, Zanon, with that left hand, because there's a lot of posing going on from Holmes. Not only look the part of a championship defense, you've got to deliver some punches to go with it. Certainly wraps that left hand in Holmes there. That's the original gift of the jab, that one. Zanon took the European crown from Evangelista, the South American who lives in Spain, and then twice successfully defended it and was due to fight Britain's Gardner. Look at that, wrapping it in where he likes, that left hand of Holmes. So upright, it looks a bit more like Olympic boxing than the rough-hewn professional stuff. I think the odds players in Las Vegas are betting on what round this is going to end, not the result. And cheers, of course, for Zanon putting up a bit of a show there. The old hand manager outside the ropes, Umberto Branchini, who's managed many a champion in his day. And Zanon reckons he's improved under a new trainer, Rudy Delvici. And he took 13 months off after losing to Jerry Quarry. And in fact, I saw that fight, and Zanon was going very well in it and then was caught in the 9th round. So into round 3 then, and Larry Holmes, 32 fights, all wins, and stopped or knocked out 23 of them. And reputed to be getting $600,000 for this one. For that kind of money, well, you can expect some action. Hardly any power at all there from Zanon. Surprising, you'd think he'd lean in a bit more with that left hand and do a bit more damage. He's just sort of cuffing with the right hand, almost as though a lady's hitting you with her handbag. Mind you, I wouldn't like him to hit me with them. Well, at least Zanon's doing his share of punching there. There's nothing dangerous about it, but he's getting a few points with them. Afraid Holmes is in danger of going to sleep. Just trying to show off a little bit and catch a few punches. Started to switch the punches to the body now. Holmes's corner calling out there the seconds. Switch to the body. And there he goes. They're very hard punches indeed. They're very snappy. And this is more like Larry Holmes at best now. He's really getting himself into good shape as he goes along in the fight, finding his distance. Both stand 6'3½". And so far, the Mexican referee keeping well out of the action. Almost an apology there by Zanon. I'm sorry to hit you after the bell, mate. I don't want to do too much damage. Into round 4, scheduled of course for 15 rounds, the World Championship distance, not to be confused now with the European Championship, which has gone back to 12 rounds. And a bit more spiteful stuff it looks now, coming from Holmes. He's due to have a fight on March 31st. Oh, yes. A good right hand. He was setting Zanon up for that punch, wasn't he? Using the left hand. That's the first time he's really treated into that right-hand punch, the finishing of the mandatory 8. Now, how is the Italian going to keep him off? If Holmes wants to really unload these shots, it could all be over. Holmes staying in control of it. They're not going mad with the finish. Oh, there's a delayed action one there. Clearly, Zanon didn't approve of that right-hand punch. Went from his chin to his boots, and he seemed to tumble like a tree being felled. Just doesn't have any ammunition to keep Holmes off. The game really should be jab and run or hold, but he's doing none of those things. Zanon holding his head a bit too high now because Holmes really can't miss him with the right-hand punch. And he's walking onto it too, instead of walking anti-clockwise. And he's going to give him a what? No, he shouldn't be giving a standing count. That isn't allowed in the state of Nevada. Obviously, the Mexican referee is not familiar with those rules. He's introduced the WBC rules. There's a lot of confusion there on that third count, but it doesn't matter. It's so one way for Holmes anyway. Well, Holmes is not a one-punch expert, but he's very accurate when he unloads. Every time he does this in a contest, he gets caught occasionally, risk it, but when he unloads, he's so sure of his punches. Looks as though he's saying, well, I've got him where I want him, I can afford to take my time in round 4. And having said he's accurate, he's missed twice badly with those right hands. And again. And I think Zanon was well pleased to hear that bell. And in fact, Zanon was getting the cheers for managing to survive that round and trying at least to fight back. So into a replay then of Holmes. There's the punch. I mean, you couldn't get it more perfect than that, really. It was right on the end, about 6 inches shorter, and I don't think Zanon would have made that. Into round 5, Larry Holmes, having softened up this Italian challenger, is more or less going to hang the washing out to dry any minute. But I certainly admire the way that Holmes comes out and then sets his opponent up again with that left jab. Doesn't go mad. Absolute control. Still a lack of mobility there with Zanon. He's having a go, but you'd think he'd use the ring a bit more, move around a bit, get away from it. But there you are, he's a big fellow. 15-5. Zanon occasionally pinching a few points with that left hand, as he does there. But you feel that it isn't coming to anything. Strangely enough, Zanon actually winning this round because Holmes is just staring at him, trying to set him up for the punch. This is exactly how Zanon boxed against Jerry Quarry, frustrating him. Jerry Quarry won the fight and then retired from the game. He was so upset by his performance. But Ken Norton caught up with Zanon in this ring. Well, it's been around almost exclusively by the left, hasn't it? And a surprisingly good round here, Zanon. This is where the critics have been going for Holmes in a situation like this. The Americans expect a world champion in the Marciano mold and the Joe Louis mold to, and indeed Joe Frazier, to really knock out the opposition once they've got him on the hook. And Zanon fought very well indeed in that round. A lot of it, well, you may have saying, thought that Holmes was saying, well, I'm not too bothered. Well, they've certainly roused Mr. Holmes in his corner there, saying, what are you doing? Hang around. Let's get this fellow out of here because you're going to be criticised unless you do. So into round 6, can Zanon stay on his bike, as they say in the boxing game, and keep moving? Or is Holmes going to catch up with him? Oh, yes, he has there. A good right-hand shot. When he puts those punches together, Holmes, he looks the business, doesn't he? He certainly was a little sloppy in round 5, but he's making up for it now. This delayed action with Holmes's power. When he catches Zanon on the chin, there seems to be a second or two before he realizes he's been hurt. He's being as defiant as he can, Zanon, with the left hand, but sadly lacks the power at this class. Zanon keeps using the left hand almost in paintbrush fashion, slopping it down there in Holmes' face, but no, this is Holmes now winding up. I doubt whether he's going to let the Italian off the hook this time. Oh, and that same punch again. And he's looking to his corner, Zanon, trying to pick up the count. And they're probably saying, get up at 8. And he may be saying, well, what time is it now? He's going to be counted out in the act of rising. He has been counted out by the Mexican referee. He was late getting up, and quite rightly unable to defend himself. And this technical term, that's called counted out in the act of rising. And yet another successful defense for Larry Holmes. And a replay of that knockout punch then. The set up with the left hand, moving into the right-hand punch, and there it is. Again, a slight delayed action, but once he hits the deck, you know there's not much